Barish Balika now joining us for closing chat. Sudarshan Sukhani is also back with us. Good afternoon, gentlemen. Dilip, let me start with you. What would you do with a stock like Cipla now? It's been one of the stocks of the day, down 5%, but post the numbers, what's your call?
Well, I think even if you were to take out the one-time impact of Nexium, I think the overall performance still has been pretty strong. But that is in absolute terms. But on a relative basis, the valuation seems to be ahead of the current prices, no doubt about it. But I think more and more people are buying into this particular argument that this is a company which probably is ready to show a 15 to 20% CAGR on the bottom line for next couple of years. And I think that kind of confidence and traction seems to be coming on Cipla. So I would look to buy Cipla from the current levels or even at the dips. I think slightly on a longer term basis. I think I remain quite positive on Cipla and its performance.
30 minutes of trade. In fact, 4,500 crores have been added. So don't know, whether it's on the buy side or on the sell side, but there's been quite a bit of activity that you have seen in some of these large cap names. Dilip, a word on Jubilant Foodwork. 3.5% lower today. Expensive stock, but a lot of brokerages believe that maybe it's best in class as far as some of these stocks are concerned. But your personal call on the stock?
Well, I think clearly the prices are ahead of the fundamentals. And I think the performance is not all that inspiring. Of course, the overall parameters, the return ratios remain pretty strong, whether it's free cash flow or ROEs. But some of the other data which is coming in is not giving that much confidence. So I think I'm not too much in a hurry to look at this stock from the current levels. I will probably get other stocks which appear much more reasonable than this one.
Okay. Good. Okay. Well, what is your own view of how to approach this entire PSU banking space now, Dilip?
Well, I heard Mr. Baliga, but unfortunately, I have a completely diametrically opposite view.
Sure.
I think this is the beginning of a re-rating for PSU banks. And I think a lot of things that we were expecting possibly will happen. So I don't know whether the stock will correct itself, all the stocks will correct by tomorrow after showing a good rise from today. I have no idea on that. But I'm sure that the secular direction is certainly upwards. And if I were to just take only one case, the person who has been brought as a BOB chairman, I think it tells a lot that a person of that stature probably is not going to accept some of the things lying down. And I think that's where probably a lot of confidence would come. We all know they are beset with a lot of asset problems, NPA problems, and they are not going to go away in a hurry. But surely I think they are also being reflected in their prices and the valuations at which they are available. But I would still take a broader call that on a risk-return basis, the risk is limited. But as more and more of these things becomes visible, it will become contagious across the PSU banks. And I think PSU Bank is in for a good re-rating over next 12 to 15 months.
But that's the view that a lot of analysts have given us through the day. But there is a bit of a confidence issue in many of these names, like say a Bank of Baroda or a PNB. So when asked about which stock to buy, most of them still stick with SBI because of the confidence that stock gives you in terms of earnings, etc. Would you also have that view that BOB and PNB should be, at arm's length, and perhaps SBI is still the way to go in PSU banks? Or would you advise now moving to some of these other beleaguered names?
Well, if you have to prioritize some of the things, then obviously what you say makes much more sense, that within the pack, some of these banks, probably like SBI, will be better off. But I think I would generally think PSU banks as a theme is what has to be played. So I'm sure the better ones would climb much faster, much higher, at least initially. But I think this entire pack has to play the catch-up game. Because I think if we say that this government is working in the right direction, they appointed the right people, and if we are not confident of the outcome, then probably we are also trying to say that we are not confident about the actions that they are taking. But I feel that some of these people will bring about a good cultural change in the long run, and that itself would mean a good amount of re-rating for some of these banks.
Okay, that's a word on Amtech Group. Amtech Auto is down 11% today. Some of the others were also down. The market is averse with whether the group has some kind of problems in terms of financials. Are you tracking any of these stocks, and what's your call on, say, something like Amtech Auto?
No, not really. We are not tracking this company, this group very closely at the moment. We used to track, but I think market probably seems to be in a mood to punish anybody which is supposed to be having a little disproportionate debt, and maybe the profit which has now become losses is something which market is not prepared to accept. But otherwise, I think this Amtech group has a good experience in this particular line in which they are into. But broadly, I don't think that I'm really tracking this group and the companies very closely.
Are you tracking Amara Raja by any chance, Dilip? I mean, that one has been the big mover in the last many weeks and months. Do you think there's more to go on the upside?
Sure, I think Amara Raja has really acquitted themselves pretty well in the last couple of years, and I think even this current quarter performance has been pretty decent. And looking at the basket and the mix of the product that they have, which they are selling at the moment, I think they will continue to drive the top line as well as the bottom line in a reasonably very good manner. And hopefully with this raw material being what it is, I think they will really be able to capitalize on some of these things. And hopefully the macro environment is going to improve slightly on a longer term basis. Yes, Amara Raja really deserves a look in the portfolio.
Okay, Sudarshan.
One question to you. In terms of, the auto stocks, not just Amara, there were many others that hit fresh highs today, whether it's names like Ashok Leyland, CEAT, TVS Sri Chakra, so many of them, hitting new highs. From that space, what are your other buys?
Well, I think in the auto and the auto ancillary space, probably we are still looking at Bharat Forge. We still feel that that's a stock, though not available cheap, but still there is enough steam left in the stock in terms of the performance and in terms of the utilization levels to go up. So Bharat Forge is one which certainly needs a look. I think Tata Motors also has really taken it on the chin, and it's available at 52-week low. So I would think that Tata Motors probably slightly on a longer term basis can merit a look. So I think Sona is another stock in the auto ancillary space which probably merits a look. I think largely their performance is likely to improve over next 1 or 2 years, and I think the stock is available at a reasonable valuation. Maybe some of these stocks look pretty interesting.
Okay, gentlemen, we let you go on that note. You guys have a good day. It was a mixed day of trade for the markets. We were